Hello and welcome to an oft delayed finale to our Brindlewood Bay game. We had two parts to this earlier, and then the holidays and everything interfered. And I want to give big thanks to Will for pushing that we want to do this finale. We want to get it in, so we have come to that. So if you're watching this, this is what's called the Void Mystery. It's sort of the final mystery in the Brindlewood Bay series. But we're also coming back with our players having been gone for a bit. So you may see us slow down to go over who people are and get ourselves back into the groove of it, as it were. But before we get too much further, I want to have everybody introduce themselves and their characters. In particular, if this were like a very special like Mystery of the Week movie, and we had the opening credits where we got a few seconds clip of your character and we saw them doing something, I want to have a sense of what we would see in that. To tell you one thing, time wise, our last mystery was the Deadly Silent Auction that took place just before Christmas. We are in that gap between Christmas and the New Year. We're like a week later. And I'll go over that in a sec. But before I go too much further, to introduce our characters, I'm going to work from left to right. We will start with Will. Tell us about Rosemary.
Hi, my name is Will, pronouns he, him, unlike those of Rosemary, whose pronouns are she, her. Rosemary Strand is a former publishing executive who was married to a true crime mystery author who died in a mysterious overdose of his heart medication whilst investigating something here in Brindlewood Bay. And Rosemary has stayed around long knowing that there was more to that than meets the eye. And over the course of her last year with her friends, the mystery mavens, she has started to see the real sickness behind Brindlewood Bay and what probably killed her husband, and in fact has started to see rather more strange things herself.
You are all the way up on the crown of the void to the
Mm-hmm.
pallid mask. Why don't you remind everyone what the pallid mask means?
During any intimate conversation with another character, I must make a casual reference to death, dying, the afterlife, or the end of all things. And as well as having so many crowns of the void atop Rosemary's head, Rosemary has also marked herself with the black scrimshaw that she took from the museum and has gained access to the Song of the Dead, where she can hear those faint whispers over the crashing waves of the void.
And we had a kind of a seance sort of thing last time, if I recall correctly.
Yes, where I saw, well, it ended with me being threatened by Mrs. Strauss in a vision after seeing the Pauline, the last victim of a crime in one of our things. But at the very, very end of it, after that strange visitation, I saw Deputy Brett Anderson's wave to me in the street, and sitting in the passenger seat of a car was our former friend, traitor to us, probably just a poor girl in over her head, Lara Sanchez, who I think we all thought was going to be, following in the footsteps of the Mystery Maven as a true crime podcaster. But sadly, she crossed the midwives. She'd been working for them the whole time. And I saw her dead body screaming in the side of Brett Anderson's car silently, and I'm the only one who could see it.
Excellent. And what is the sort of the credit bit we see for you?
I think it is her working on something feverishly, writing things down, scrawling notes, putting it back, and then stepping back, and you can see this board of what all the connections between the cases, the people, the Deep Reaver, what we found under the caves, my husband's death. It is all connected. And as she steps back and look, her eyes linger on the picture. I think the last thing that you see is her putting that picture of Arthur back up on the board.
Excellent. And then let us come to Barbara.
Hello, I'm Dan. My pronouns are he and him. I'm playing Barbara. She goes by Bobby. She moved from Brooklyn about 12 or 13 years ago with her husband, who subsequently passed away from cancer. She moved, or they moved to Brindlewood Bay to be closer to their daughters who live in the Boston area. She has a bike that she uses to get around town. I think one of the changes that we've seen is that she splurged and got herself a motorized scooter for the holidays. So she's upgraded her mode of transportation, and she spends a lot of time antiquing, but has become very obsessed with this mermaid style pin that they keep running into again and again. So I think her opening credits is her sort of handling lots of different flavors and variations of this symbol.
Excellent. And then we come to Iris.
So I'm Patrick, he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Iris Glenn, she, her, who Iris was married to a man who was in the military and had a fairly large family. They moved around a lot all over the sort of middle of the country. But he died decades ago, and she's moved to Brindlewood Bay sort of in her retirement. She's always been someone who lived more and just like felt more herself in the outdoors, out in nature. She loves hiking and walking places. She loves painting, mostly watercolors and nature scenes of birds and coastlines, and she collects rocks and shells and interesting seeds that she finds out in her walks around town. She wears a like fisherman's sort of vest that's, you know, like khaki and nylon and has 8,000 pockets, some of them with pockets inside of them. And they all have different things that she's found in different places. And she's like the only person left in town that still has old film canisters because they're just the best for keeping little things in. She sort of joined up with the murder mavens later on. She's been friends with these ladies off and on for a while, but they had a few public encounters with death before she joined up with them. I don't know what else.
I think that's good. What do we see on screen for your little in the background of the credit for you?
I think we see her out on the docks, like the marina in town, and she's out on the edge of one of the docks and has the easel set up. It's like, you know, just a couple minutes after dawn, the sun's just coming up, and she's painting, and you sort of see her in silhouette as comes walking up next to her and like sets up a stool and sits down. You see the silhouette of Captain Miller there, who sits down, and she just like, you see her foot push out to the side, this like thermos of something steaming that she just like pushes over to him, and he reaches down and picks up, and they just sit there sort of quietly while she paints.
And unlike most of the times where we stop and we check and we talk, we see people and so on, we hard cut to black. We are in darkness, and then there's that beat of the windshield wipers that pushes away the snow, and we'll see the three of you in a car. Rosemary, you're driving, and it's a blizzard. It is an absolute blizzard. You were traveling to Burkittsville, which is just the next town over. They had a little gathering where they invited the Mavens to come and talk about the Robin Masterson mysteries, the Gold Crown mysteries, but also clearly wanted to, have you talk about, being murder mavens. They never used that term, but it was kind of long and exhausting, and they kept you there later, even though you could see it was starting to snow outside. The food was all kind of bought, nothing homemade. But you left. It didn't seem that bad when you originally drove out, but then you find yourselves in this kind of white out blizzard, and you haven't passed anybody because people are clearly not driving here on these sort of back woodland roads. The places aren't really plowed. There's maybe evidence that a plow went through here maybe an hour ago, but you're starting to get that kind of nervous. You kind of are checking stuff, and at some point, cell phone reception just cuts out, and your Google Maps and whatnot are gone. But I imagine that Rosemary has a pretty good memory for driving, right?
Yeah, and we're close to Brindlewood, aren't we? We're not.
Yeah.
We're in the area, right? Like it's
Right.
not an alien territory. I just want to say that as one of my moves is I'm a secret personal friend of Robin Masterson, the author of the Gold Crown Mysteries. I think that the reason that we were even at this talk is because she didn't want to do it. So she passed it off to us.
And tell me about this car that Robert Masterson has lent you to drive up to there.
Oh God! I mean, if Robin Masterson's lent us, it must have a certain, it's the perception of it, right? So it's not like a fancy sports car. I don't think it's a modern car. I think it's like I don't know American cars, but I think like a 70s maybe model kind of thing.
Something sort of beautifully restored and so on. And it handles like a beast. It's it's a big engine in there. You are driving along, Rosemary, and as you can see, visibility is pretty low here behind you, and it's dark. You're driving along, and there is that moment when that figure steps in front of the car and is illuminated by the headlights, and you see your husband. Could I please have you roll the night move for me?
Which I think I would say this is composure.
That feels right to me.
Yeah. However, I notice I have a condition, so it's up to you whether or not you think haunted by the void comes into it here.
Oh, I think it definitely applies.
Which means rolling with disadvantage, correct?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I roll 3d6 with a roll modifier of 2. 7, 9.
9. So you get a good look at it. I mean, it's him, and he is here for a reason. And then you turn and you lose control. And there's that moment. I don't know how many of you have been in cars when they've spun freely on an icy road, but there's just that absolute moment of, I have no control over this anymore. And then you go off, and the car, front of the end of the car, will go into the ditch on the side. It just hits hard. The airbag that has been installed as a new feature goes off, and the car comes up just short of branches, like heavy branches that are just close to the windshield. Like if you'd flown further, if you'd had less control, that might have gone in through. and you're all shaken. Who's in the passenger seat? Bobby, is that you, or are you in the back, Bobby? Okay, so Bobby, boom, airbag. It felt like a year, and yet it's just a moment, and then the car just absolutely is crunched into this ditch.
Rose, as soon as she's physically capable, is fumbling with that door and striding back out into the snow, calling, Arthur, Arthur, Arthur.
Rosemary, why did you do that? Why? Well, where are you going now?
Climbs out in, calling out her dead husband's name, and climbing up out of the ditch on the snowbank up onto this road. What do you do, Bobby?
I'm is the car sort of hanging at all, or is it just
it is
nestled
at
in
an angle, and it's clearly jammed into this ditch. You're like, there's no way we're getting this car out of here.
Yeah, I'm definitely calling out to Rose, like, don't leave the car. What are you doing? You're gonna freeze out there. But I pop my door open, and I feel like we're downhill.
Yeah.
So the door swings open, and I'm terrified to get out. I feel like the ditch is pretty steep.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have confidence that I will be able to climb up. But I go after Rose.
Okay. The thing that will strike you is how much the whiteness of the snow, the full moon, like lights that up, but it still makes it hard to see. Like it's almost a whiteout when you get to the back of this. I'm assuming that all of you are relatively bundled up. So that's less of a thing, but it will take you a bit to kind of clamber up. We'll come back. What are you doing, Iris?
I think she sort of fights with the seatbelt to get it off at this weird angle. And she's following, pushing the door open and following after Bobby, yelling, nope, you're not leaving me down here. The two of you can't just leave me down here. And I think as Bobby is slipping and struggling to get up the slope, Iris just sort of crunches up through the snow behind her and wraps an arm around under her arm and half lifts her up the second half of the hill there.
Two of you will get up to the top to see Rosemary kind of standing in the middle of the road, more a silhouette than actually seeing her, kind of looking desperately around. But there's nothing up here, Rosemary.
I fumble, with cold hands into the inner coat pocket of my thing, and I pull out that piece of black scrimshaw, which is never far away from me.
And it's always a little warm to the touch.
And I rip up the sleeve where I marked myself and I can see that black line there, and I'm calling out, where are you, Arthur? Send him back, you sons of bitches! Send him back!
And it's cold. I mean, as soon as you pull the sleeve down, you feel how cold it is out. The two of you see it looks like Rosemary has maybe had a stroke, maybe lost it. It looks like she's about to do some self-harm. What do you do, Bobby?
Rose, stop it.
Yeah, I completely grab her hand and try and, if she's trying to hurt herself, I definitely pull her hand away from her arm. And I'm hopeful that Iris is pulling the sleeve down to cover her back up.
It's too cold out here for that. And look what you did to Mrs. Masterson's car. It was so beautiful.
He was here. Don't you understand? He was here.
Rose, we talked
Didn't you
about
see him?
Arthur is gone. There was nobody here. It was a trick of the blizzard. You've got to stop this.
You can't see, can you?
There's nothing to see.
And you're holding, I think I've got you're holding it loosely now, I'm not fighting you anymore, right?
Right.
And it's up to you, but I think I scratch one of you with the black scrimshaw.
Oh yeah, you sort of lash out.
I think more. I say, I'm sorry, but you have to see.
Oh,
And I just scratch it down the back of your hand or something, you know, like as we're sort of like in a tender moment. I just go, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, and as it, if you've ever gotten a scratch while it's super cold out, it like doubly hurts on that, and that sort of ache. But you don't see anything, Bobby.
so mad right now. I am so.
I'm like pulling Rosemary off of Bobby. What are you doing? Stop that!
Rose. As long as we've known each other, how dare you? How dare you? You can find your own way home. And I stalk off down the road.
Bobby, wait.
No,
But you
Rose.
just
No.
You don't understand.
leave her alone.
We've got to stay together. They're after us. Don't you see?
Rose, you need help. And I'm not the one to help you. Enough.
And I think we'll see that shot of Bobby walking away. Rosemary, I assume you follow.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little reluctantly. Iris, do you stay to make sure Rose follows along, or do you run up to where Bobby is at, or something else?
I'm staying with Rose and like trying to protect Bobby from her a bit, and trying to figure out if Rose hit her head or if she's seen things, that sort of thing.
Bobby, you're walking, saying this is dark. It is pretty much moonlight. There are no like street lights along this. There's that trudge through, a good 6-8 inches worth of snow here.
So mad.
And it's that part where it's starting to get into the boots, because you weren't quite expecting to be having to trudge in this much snow.
Right. These
but
are my nice boots.
You'll see up ahead, it's more haze at first, but you'll see lights that kind of illuminate. But the thing that'll strike you is you're actually seeing like red and blue flasher kind of in there. You're not hearing siren or anything like that. And as you trudge forward, you will realize that you're in the outskirts of Brindlewood, like you're not that far away from the ocean. And these are those very nice houses. And you see that there is an unplowed drive. The only reason you kind of can tell that it's there is because you see that there are some now snowed in tire tracks. And you see this old New England family mansion. And you can see that there are a couple of cars out front that are essentially buried in snow, and a police car that is parked and looks like it actually went off the side of the drive, and it's kind of snowed in, and it looks like it stuck. And there's definitely snow that has fallen on it. It is like covered, but you're seeing through the snow the red and blue flashers.
I'm like, oh, thank God. And I walk up to the cop car and I kind of knock on the window.
You'll do that. And then you kind of brush the snow away. There's nobody in there.
Did you say there are lights on in the mansion?
Yeah, you look, there are actually a lot of lights on in the mansion.
I head up that way.
As Bobby is starting to move towards the front door, that's probably Rosemary, Iris, when you'll catch up and see this. You'll see this mansion snow covered. Definitely feels snowed in. You see that police car that looks like it's jammed up here. And you see Bobby going up to the front door of this place.
Has everyone forgotten how to drive tonight?
Listen, I'm all right now, Iris. I'll explain everything later, okay? But I'm all right. You go make sure Bobby's okay, okay? I'm gonna try and open the police car door.
Okay.
Rosemary, you are not all right. I'm not leaving you alone out here in the cold.
Well, just let me see if I can get this radio working then.
So yeah, you will open up. Doesn't look like they locked the door. You will lean in and kind of grab the dispatch radio, and do the squelch and kind of listen, and you kind of hear a and you could, but that's all you get.
Rose, who do you think you're calling?
And Rose, for a second snaps back to exactly, the sort of sarcastic woman that she is generally speaking, and looks at you, looks down and goes, I don't know, Iris. Is it written on the side of the car, maybe?
I mean, do you even know how to use a police radio? They probably have a code or something.
Say, yeah, I think it's broken anyways. Nothing but static. And I put it back with one shaky hands. And then I think this is the one time that the one RPG where you search the cop car and you don't go, it's a shotgun in the back.
Fair enough.
Come on, we need to get you into the warm. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Bobby, you will go up a big old door. You realize that this is the Corey mansion. It's a ways outside of town. The backyard, goes away, kind of it terminates in the cliff out to the ocean. Again, one of these old whaling families of Brindlewood Bay, and there's an enormous brass knocker that you'll knock and wait, and the door opens, and you see Priya Gaudel, the barista. And she's like, Bobby.
Priya, what are you doing in this place? I mean, I'm so glad to see you.
Oh yeah, but you got here late. Did you have trouble getting it through the snow?
We were coming from somewhere else. What do you mean? Were you expecting me?
I wasn't expecting. I don't know. They didn't tell me the guest list.
Okay.
I was just happened to be going by. I was going back to change out the service.
Okay.
Come in.
Yeah.
And she sees the other two back there. Is it all of you?
Yeah, our car slipped off the road, and Rosemary doesn't seem to be doing so well. We just need a warm place.
Oh yeah, no, come
lay
come
low.
inside. I'll get Miss Krause.
Wait, you'll get who now?
And I've now activated the NPCs and clues tab for you.
Wait, what now? What are we getting now?
And
Priya, wait. I put my hand on her arm.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just wait for Rosemary and Iris to get here.
Oh, okay. You see Rosemary, Iris, you see Bobby talking with somebody. Again, snow's making it hard to see, but silhouetted there in the doorway. And as you approach, it's one of those places where they got the kind of Gothic pillars, the kind of standing in the under those, the door is open and you see Priya talking with Bobby as the two of you approach.
Oh, thank goodness. Oh, Bobby, Priya, Rosemary needs something warm to drink.
Oh, that's what I'm here for. Come on in. And she literally gestures for you to come into this big, tiled entry hall. Do you go in?
Yeah, it's warm and light.
I lean over to Rosemary and I say, I'm still mad at you, but apparently Amanda Krause is here.
I look pale. I say, there's so much I should have told the both of you.
And I'm like, I think if we go in here, we will not have time for you to tell us everything you meant to tell us. I don't know about you. I don't know if I'm more scared of Amanda Krause or of this blizzard.
Darling, who is it? Who is that out there? And you hear Krause's voice coming closer.
No more time for debate.
Rose looks at the pair of you, her knuckles tighten, and then she spits on the floor, like very unladylike, like spits on the floor, stomps her boots free of snow, and then just plasters a big grin on her face,
You see Krause is clearly coming up because the door's been open for a while. Somebody knocked, but Priya hasn't come back. You see her step up, sees Priya there, and then her eyes kind of rise up and see the three of you, and they narrow like she is not happy to see you.
Iris is already stomping through the door after Rosemary and sort of like a dog coming in out of the snow, just shaking every part of her coat and her boots. And there's just this circle of snow around her.
Yeah. There are a bunch of coats here, including 2 sheriff's jackets hanging here. And there's still a bunch of snow here that's melting. And Amanda goes, "Can I help you, Bobby?"
Ms. Krause, I'm so sorry to interrupt your party. Car fell off the road, slipped off the road, and this was the closest home. We also saw the police cars out front. We were hoping for help. You know what? I think maybe we will brave the storm. Brindlewood is not that far away. We'll just go and walk back. It'll be fine.
Don't be ridiculous, Bobby. It's miles back to town. I'm sure Mrs. Krause is happy to help 3 poor old women in the storm.
You could see that she was about to agree with Bobby. Yes, you should go. You can walk back to town, but you kind of interrupt. And you'll hear a male voice cut through, and you'll see Sheriff Dalrymple comes up, and he's got a big steaming cup of something in his hand. He's like, "Ladies, Miss Krause didn't say that you were invitees away as well."
We got into a bit of car trouble on the road, Sheriff.
It's catching.
Yeah.
Britt,
I think your radio is broken, by the way.
Yeah, I know. When we got up here, Britt couldn't control it, went right off, and we tried to get it out and couldn't. I came up here because I don't know if the cell tower on the cliff went over.
Oh dear. Where did you say Deputy Anderson was again? And Rose is looking over her shoulder and a bit nervous about this.
And the 3 of you will kind of be brought into this grand hall, big wooden stairs going up, beautifully appointed place. It spreads out, and you'll see mingling. People have kind of drifted from the sort of adjoining rooms. We've got a dining room off one way and maybe a study off the other. And there's a fairly sizable group of people here, all of whom you know. I think on one side, we will see Marjorie Buttons, who may recall, who narrows her eyes when she sees Rosemary, who, because she snaked that compass out from under her. You'll see Dr. Catherine Burko. She narrows her eyes at Iris because she had to deal with Iris before. You'll also see Alma Heinwinkel, who was the person who put all of the captain's things up for auction. Leah, or Lee, who you know, who was very nice. You were very kind to her at the auction thing. Kelly Chandler, who I know you've met just in passing. She's a town librarian. And as well, Melanie Blair, who you haven't seen in months. The woman, she was the baker, who's her family had a bakery in town, but Paul Riviera's store put it out of commission. And maybe Bobby, in the background of one of these shots, you'll see a person kind of staying there. They have the look of a person who is here, maybe not sure why they're here, but you'll see Etienne is there. And Miss Krause looks at the sheriff, and she says, well, why don't you get yourselves warmed up? Have a drink. There's food as well. And then, Sheriff Dalrymple, maybe you can go and take a look and see if you can extricate their car. She looks and she says, unfortunately, the phones are down. Ice on the lines, and the cell tower went over. You know how it is.
I do know how it is,
dear.
yes.
Thank you so much for your hospitality.
I murmur to Iris, don't eat any of the food.
Iris looks genuinely upset for a moment.
Priya says, why don't you come with me? I've got a little coffee station set up over here, and I put a buffet together. There's some other things. And she kind of, gestures. She can feel the weirdness in the atmosphere. And so she does her best to kind of pull you three out into an area where there's a beautiful silver surface. There are those kind of chafing trays with the warming dishes. You can see that she's got, a big percolator pot of coffee there. There's also alcohol set up, and it looks like there's a large selection of baked goods from the bookstore, as well as other food that's clearly the chef has prepared that is here, and she'll kind of bring you over. She was bringing in a new pot of coffee, so she gets that whole thing and gets that set up for you. And she's like, help yourselves.
Thank you, honey. What's all this in aid of? Strange night for a strange crowd for a social gathering.
I don't know what it is. It's some kind of gathering, some kind of party. I got hired to come out and work it. I thought there were going to be other like other staff here, but I haven't seen any. When I got here, with all the food was, besides what I brought, was already prepared. I've just been working. I think this is the old woman's house, maybe. But Mrs. Krause seems to be running things.
And what food did you say you brought?
Pardon?
What food did you say you brought?
These danishes, these brownies. She points to like a selection of the.
Iris starts filling up a plate of just the things she points out that she brought.
I'm going to do a meddling move.
Okay.
And sort of do my best to look around and see if I can discern anything even more unusual than we had already identified.
let's have you make a roll for me. What do you think this is with?
That's a good question. Let's see. I think reason.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that is I feel like Amanda's doing everything to make this look perfectly normal. So I need to read between the lines a little bit here. Oh, wow. I'm going to roll these yellow dice down here.
Okay.
I think I rolled a 5 plus 1 is a 6. So not so good.
A 6 now. You could mark a crown.
I think I will mark a crown. Yeah, I'm going to go pallid mask.
Okay. And I think it is that we see you kind of step over to the side. You can see that there's the beautiful service, the chinaware and stuff that they've got set out for people. But you kind of look over and you see a sideboard, and you see a teacup from a different service. And you walk over to it, and you kind of lean in and you kind of take a sniff, and there is the smell of pomegranate.
Oh my gosh.
In the teacup. And for a second, you flash back to that woman dead on the floor, that smell of pomegranate in her teacup, that failed mystery. Have a flashback to the shotgun going off.
That was my friend too who had died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Letitia, I think her name was.
Yes. And so that is clue number 1. And I think that is definitely will shake you. And when you look up, you see Mrs. Carfax. And she's watching you intently.
Bitch.
Iris, what are you doing now? You've got a nice big plate of delights here.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely chowing down and passing over a dish to Rosemary, because I take Bobby's warning to heart, but Priya brought all this food herself, and if she wanted to poison us, she could do that any day of the week. So pass that over, and I think she starts like looking and rooting around the bar, and pulls out a couple of bottles of beer, and like looking over at Bobby very pointedly, she opens the cap like, this is sealed. She walks back over to Rosemary and just starts like looking her in the eyes, trying to see the concussion or the crazy that's in there. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling fine, Iris.
You do see that there is a bruise on Rosemary's cheek. Like, she may not have realized how hard that airbag hit her. Like, she hasn't even registered it.
Look at that. You're not fine. Your face is going to swell up like a balloon.
Nobody's looking at my face these days, Iris.
That's not the point. You think you might have hit your head while you were hitting your face?
You really didn't see it, did you?
See what? Just babbled since you drove the car into the ditch.
I'm wondering if there's a way we could trigger an intimate moment here, a cozy move.
Yeah, I like that.
I suppose I will let's say it's my cozy activity is collecting, right? And I dropped the signed one of the signed copies of the Robin Masterson Mysteries that we were bringing to that talk, right? And obviously we all got one to keep as part of our collection. So I pull that one out of my coat pocket and then like lay it across the radiator on the side of the wall, right, to try and dry it out from the snow. And say, I know that there's a whole trunk full of these things in the car, but I'd feel so terrible to take more than just one.
Well, I mean, think of all the work she'd have to go through to sign all the new ones again.
She tells me that she actually gets one of her interns to do it.
No.
I didn't say that. It would destroy the value of all of those first editions.
You know, they say never meet your heroes.
So can I clear Haunted by the Void?
I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. As you know, this sort of normalcy and the fact that I've got my friends and everything, and if it's my cozy activity, I can also stumble on a clue relevant to an active mystery, which I wonder if that's possible here to maybe like go over and look at some of the bookshelves or something,
Well, I think actually while you're there, probably there's no radiator per se, but you probably went over near one of the fireplaces. There are multiple fireplaces here. And one of the screens that has things, you could kind of lay it on that to let it steam. And I think you will see that has fallen out of the fire. It looks like somebody threw a note into the fire. It kind of caught, but didn't catch completely. And it's kind of lifted out. And you look around, casually bend over and scoop it up. And you can't make out much of it except for the words, they'd better be there or everything will be revealed.
Pick it up and I look over at Iris and I pass it to her, like I slip it into her hand as I pass her back the cup that I had.
She looks up sort of with wide eyes after reading it, just mouths, us?
Out of character, at some point I want to grab my fellow mavens for a trip to the ladies' room and try and do some info dumping with them or demonstration.
Let's take 5. We'll take our break here, first break. Take 5 minutes. When we come back, we'll cut to the 3 of you in the ladies' room, in the powder room, having a hurried conversation in hushed tones. Okay.
I've got to make them see how serious all of this is. Like,
I'll give you 5.
You're muted.
I had to step outside, so of course my glasses did that progressive lens thing immediately.
Would this be a good time to flash back to the Rockford Files, Rick?
Yeah. I think we would see you just before you took off to go to this gathering, to go to this engagement for Robin Masters. There would have been that recording on your phone. At this point, when you see that the message light is flashing, what's your reaction, Iris?
I think it's a like stop in her tracks, and her face just immediately goes from a sort of carefree Iris patting her pockets and going through her day. Her face just goes slack. She like turns on her heels, stomps away. The camera stays there. She's like rummaging around in the kitchen. She comes back with a shot glass and a half-empty bottle of dark liquor. She pours it, slugs it back, and then steps forward to press the play button.
And you'll hear that sort of graveliness, and it says, "This is our last transmission. This is our last transmission. 3 is the number, and the number is 3. And then the answer machine, you know how sometimes it just like records and keeps going. It goes and goes and goes, and then it just, you know, there's that click sound as it runs out of space and automatically stops.
And I think Iris was standing there with like a pencil and a paper, and she was like expectantly waiting for more. And she runs it back to listen again.
Oh, it's not there when you rewind and play it again.
She just looks frustrated as she like tosses the pad down with the little like 3 is the number. The number is 3 next to the phone, and stomps away.
So we cut to the 3 of you in one of those ornate powder rooms with the big basins, where, you know, the beautifully appointed bath. Everything there smells kind of fragrant soap. Well, or rather, it should, but it's actually got more of like maybe a little bit of the sea smell to it, like maybe just the air from the ocean got caught here in the pipes. And I think it is quiet. And Rosemary, you said you had something to say to your compatriots.
I think the reason that we're in here, right, is because Bobby is still very annoyed with me. And I'm like, we haven't got time for this, but look, I promise, one more thing. You'll see, I promise. Just come with me. Iris, you too.
I hold up my hand with the scratch on it, and I'm like,
yeah, that should be deep enough.
Rose!
You'll see.
That is not helping.
And, you know, I think within the thing we have, Rose says, you know, like, says, I know this all sounds crazy, but you have to understand we're in a lot more danger than you realize here.
and I say, Iris, tell Rose we are always in a lot of danger.
Well, she knows that. Rosemary, I think the point here is that you've not said anything. You just said a lot of things about things that you were going to say, and then you didn't say the things.
Listen, Lara Sanchez, that little girl who helped murder those people, she was trying to help us and they killed her.
Iris, tell Rose that I expect an apology.
I already said I'm sorry.
Well, I was supposed to be the one to tell you.
And listen, Kraus, Carfax, all those murders, they're all connected. You understand? Every single bit of it, everything in this town, it all goes back to the Deep Reaver. It all goes back there. Every single one of these things.
If we're in too deep, then we should be getting out, not going deeper.
It'll just pull you
Rosemary, this
down, Bobby.
much.
Listen, neither of you really believe me, do you?
I believe that you are very worried and that you are still processing Arthur's death, and that and because of that, we need to step away. We should break up the Mavens. This is too much.
And Rose puts a hand out to Bobby and just says, shh, just, Bobby, just hold my hand. Okay? And Iris, just be quiet for a second. Okay?
Impossible.
Can you hear it, Bobby? And I'm wondering if, I'd feel free to say no to this, but I'm wondering if you would like to trigger the Song of the Dead as I ask you to listen for Lara's voice across the, because I have marked your flesh with the black scrimshaw.
I
And
think this is the occult move.
Yes, it would be the occult move. Roll plus sensitivity.
So I'm like, okay, I'll listen. And I close my eyes and I'm going to delete these dice because they're stupid. Okay, I rolled a 9. I think my sensitivity is 0.
You must mark the crown of the void.
Great. I'm up to the pomegranate kernel.
And I think that is the thing is when Rosemary reaches out and touches you, you fall into the black water. You fall through the floor into it, and you're swimming with the black currents. And you see this vessel emptied and gaping with wounds, but there is something that is reaching out from the breaks in its side that is pulling it along the water. Is it a crew? Is it tentacles? You're not sure. But you can see that it is old, and you can see that they are dragging this towards the shore. And then they stop, these figures that you see in the distance, like they've realized you're there. And they all turn to look at you. And then you're splayed out on the floor, and Priya has probably come running because you've collapsed, Bobby. Iris, you're there. What you saw was Rosemary touch Bobby, and then Bobby fell to the floor.
Oh, I imagine this is like just the three of us in a
right.
Yeah.
I mean, Iris is like down on the floor, like trying to check if Bobby's okay. Yeah, little slaps on the cheek and like fanning at the face. Bobby? We were out there in the cold too long. She shouldn't have been walking.
You saw it.
Why did you do this to us?
Because you won't understand until you can see, Iris. But I don't want to open both of your eyes to this. Do you see it, Bobby?
The ship, it's coming.
That's what they want. Whatever it is, it all goes back to whatever was on that ship, whatever's in the void. You saw it too. I'm not crazy, Iris. She saw it too. And you can see it as well if you really want. And I gesture towards the black scrimshaw that you've got in your own in your pocket now, right?
You may add the void clue that the ship is coming.
Mm. And I just wanted to go back to the moves because I think actually the occult move only triggers when I did it the first time. And I think it would actually be the Song of the Dead because when you engage in an activity, it's now a move all mavens can use for the rest of the game.
Ah, okay.
So that would mean that Bobby got a Haunted by the Void as a condition.
Okay.
And I know that I wrote the Song of the Dead to say a clue relevant to the active mystery on a 7 to 9. I think at this point, given that we're on a void mystery, a void clue seems appropriate as well.
Yeah,
you know,
I think so. Let's do this for that void clue. Let's we'll do that in bold to mark that it's relevant for regular clue if you want to use that for the solution as well.
So I'm unmarking the pomegranate kernel.
That is correct.
And I'm writing Haunted by the Void.
Yes.
Seems almost the same as Obsessed with the Void.
My feeling is that Haunted by the Void is like the passing version of Obsessed with the
curable.
Void.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not chronic. Yep.
Look, all right, both of you, just Bobby, if you promise to stop threatening to go out into the blizzard, and Rose, if you promise to stop stabbing people, I will promise to believe you for tonight. But I think one of us needs to keep a clear head, so you just please don't stab me with anything. Oh, you're muted.
I'm sorry I did this without your permission, Bobby.
I understand now why you did, but I'm still mad at you.
And I smile and I say, well, I understand. I'd be mad too.
Iris, do not cut yourself with that thing.
I just made you promise. That is not a problem.
Do you think all of them are here for? They must all be here. And we show the burn note, and we say that, just to establish that there is now a reason to stick around, and we need to find out what all this is about, right?
Is everything okay in there?
Yeah. Yes, Priya, we're fine.
Okay.
Us old ladies, we like going to the bathroom together.
Oh, okay. I just okay. All right.
We're almost done.
Okay, and she heads back.
I think I splash some water on my face. I kind of look at myself in the mirror, try and regain my composure. And I'm like, ladies, let's go out there and let's solve this mystery. And I exit the bathroom into the waiting arms.
And you can tell that there's certainly been a certain amount of some people completely oblivious to the fact that you've been away doing that. You're Dalrymple and Beauregard talking, but definitely Krause and Deputy Anderson have maybe been hovering to just to kind of keep an eye. The others seem to be like people have spread out. They're not all in one room or like they're gathered for a party. It looks like some people have gone to other parts of the mansion, and you're not sure what. It doesn't look like a party per se, but it's certainly a gathering. Let's start with Iris.
Well, I think I've got to go and latch on to my very dear personal pet project, Deputy Anderson, who of course I'm so close with, And I'm really interested in, making sure that her career is going well. And so I think I go and start like, oh yeah. This is she knows that she's part of it, but she has this sort of preset relationship with her. So she's trying to play into it as if nothing's changed. So she's pressing Deputy Anderson about like local happenings, or have you come up with any theories about what happened to the cell tower? It's so strange. We've never had it come down in a storm before.
And she's like, the sheriff said it was just ice and snow, but they built it too close to the cliff.
Well, but we both know what Sheriff Dalrymple's opinion is worth, right? Have you thought of any other reasons it might have gone down? Vandals? Hoodlums, even? Out in the snow?
I don't think anybody, and she looks at you, would be foolish enough to go out in this weather.
Well, we had important places to be. It's not like your parking job was particularly impressive.
And that clearly gets under her skin. I hadn't driven up that drive before. I had no idea that it cut off the side as far as it did.
So this is your first time to the mansion?
Yes.
Seems an interesting crowd. Have you been taking my suggestions seriously? Are you trying to advance your career?
I think that bird has flown.
Nonsense. Dalrymple won't be there forever, and we'll need a new sheriff. Surely you've thought about your future.
She pulls herself up short. Can I please have you make the meddling move?
Sure. Let's see. Maybe it's presence. I'm trying to push her around and get some sort of response out of her. Please, one of you is a roller. Geez, that's a 12.
That is a 12. So on a 12, you will realize, you can add this as regular clue, and then I'll give you a void clue, that she's already written off Sheriff Dalrymple is dead. Like she kind of maybe a little bit of a flinch when you say he won't be here, won't always be here. Like, yep, that's true. But I think that when she says that, when you say that and she looks at you, her eyes are particularly cold. And you kind of reach out maybe to touch her, to like, you're a person who's touchy-feely, especially with her. But when you touch her, like her shirt, her jacket, everything is kind of wet and soft and yielding to your touch. And she's just moist. And you pull your hand back and she kind of looks at you, and there are tears running down, but you don't think those are tears. And then you kind of shake that off.
Always so nice to chat, dear. If you'll excuse me. And she turns and sort of manages to keep her face together, but she makes a beeline over to where the food is laid out, and like as surreptitiously as she can, grabs a napkin and starts furiously wiping her hands.
Absolutely, hand sanitizer. Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bobby, you've just been informed of all these things, and you've just had a singularly unpleasant vision. What are you up to?
I think I'm going to go. I see Etienne talking to the sheriff. And so I feel like, and they're sitting on a couch.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like I can kill two birds with one stone. I can sit for a bit. And I can kind of see from Etienne, who shouldn't really be here, why he's here and what he knows about the place.
I think you'll get a little bit of conversation there, and Etienne is clearly like, so you don't think, I mean, are the plows going to be out this way? And he says, the sheriff says, even if the plows come out this way, they're not going to plow your car out. I think you're stuck here overnight. I'm sure they'll get something up in the morning. You'll be able to call, and maybe we can get a tow, or we can get Scooter over from the yard, have him drive up and drive some of us back to town. But I'm telling you, it's a pretty good spread. So, and Etienne's like, yes, I know I brought some of the food. But he looks around and he's clearly uncomfortable. He sees you and kind of smiles, but he's still a little like, I would like to get back home.
I say, I was not expecting to see you here, Etienne.
Says, yeah, I was called to make a delivery of some prepared foods and some fish. Though I haven't seen the cook staff, I put the fish away. But by the time I got here, it was already snowing, and I started to go to leave, but my car's stuck in a bank right now.
So our car is also stuck. It's, I guess, kind of Miss Krause that she invited you to stay.
And he narrows his lips. He dislikes Miss Krause as much as you do, as you may recall, because he was friends with her husband.
Right.
And he strongly believes that she got away with murder. And he's like, if I had my druthers, I wouldn't have anything to do with her. I didn't even realize that she was involved with this shindig.
Oh, who is your client then?
Mrs. Carfax.
I see.
I haven't dealt with her much, but off and on over the last few years, she's always seemed decent. I don't know how Krause got in under her.
She talks to you, Carfax does?
No, I mean, she buys things.
Maybe you can show me where things are in the kitchen.
Sure. Kind of not sure what to make of that, but he'll get up, and Dalrymple takes advantage of that moment to go back over to the buffet, get another plate, see him open, ooh, quiche, and makes himself another little thing.
I take this opportunity to indicate to Etienne in any as subtle way as I can, there's more going on here than meets the eye.
let's have you make a meddling move, I think, for this.
All right. I did not declare what I was rolling with. I did roll a 10.
Okay.
But I will. I think I'm using composure, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
Because that'll get me to a 12.
So he will take you into the kitchen and he says, I don't like it here. The things that I brought were superfluous to what they had. They ordered fish, but they had a larder full of it. And they already had prepared foods and things like that. So the things that I brought, I don't know why they bought it. But, and he'll say, come to this back entryway. He'll walk you through the kitchen, beautiful, center island kitchen, wood block, beautiful floors, got a concrete counters and everything. But there's that kind of walk down from there to like a servant's back stair, and then it goes out to the back to the sort of summer kitchen and stairs down into the cellar. And he shows you there are a couple of coolers that are there. And he opens one up. And this is the clue. And he touches it and he smells it and he goes, there are 3 coolers. And they're all filled with seawater, not salted water. I know what salted water is. This is seawater. You can see.
I really want the cellar to be connected to the caves. But I think that might be too much to ask.
And I think the void clue you get is the whispered, like echoing, like on the wind coming up, like the wind comes up from the cellar. And it's it's like a sea shanty, like you're watching TikTok. Like a sea shanty, but it's in that rhythm, but it's like chanting. Very hard to hear, very hard to make out, but it seems carried by the wind, and it flickers your mind back to that boat.
I think I get a chill, and I think I have kind of this moment of vulnerability, which is unusual for Bobby. And I ask Etienne for a hug.
And he puts his arms around you in that not too forward in his comforting way. It goes, ever since I got here, I feel like someone's been walking over my grave.
Stay alert, my friend.
Do that. You take care. Kraus certainly has a bone to pick with you. So to speak. Rosemary, your friends have headed off in different directions.
I suppose I knew this was always going to be an odd experience ever since the dream I had last night. If now is a good time to do the Dale Cooper
Oh no,
Raven move.
That was the vision that you had
That was a
in
vision
the
of
road.
Arthur. I thought it might be, but I will just add Arthur in the road to the to the void clues. I like that a lot. Cool. I am going to go over to I think Marjorie Buttons.
She watches you as you approach. Like she's never taken her eyes off of you.
That's probably why I go over to her, right? Like, yeah, Anderson's been distracted. Krause is probably watching Bobby speak to the sheriff, but this one woman is still staring at me. And I'm like, why, Marjorie, it's so nice to see you here.
Yes, Miss Strand.
Oh, you're not still upset about that auction, are you?
I think it was unfairly done, given the circumstances.
Marjorie, I simply, in any bidding war, one person must win and one person must lose, and that's all that happened. I understand why. Well, did the Deep Reaver compass mean something to you? I would hate to have removed something personal.
You're pushing on her. I'm going to move to the meddling move pretty quick here.
Yeah, that sounds fine. I'm using the roll for your party, by the way.
Please.
Oof. That is I didn't say what I did, so I'm not going to look too closely at what I got. I think this is a. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna use. Oh wait, the Gold Crown mystery. Should I have said that beforehand? I can't remember, or can I do it?
You can do that afterwards for the gold crown.
I can do that afterwards as the Golden Crown.
But
I would get a 10 plus. No, I don't need to get a 12 plus because that would just be another void clue. So if I roll with, I think I'll roll with sensitivity because, of all of my deep first-hand intimate knowledge with the Deep Hand Reaver at this point, I've stood on those decks. I've heard the voice of the captain. I've tasted and I've seen the hulking thing that they were pulling from the water. So that is a 10.
That is a 10. So I think like she's clear, like if this compass clearly means something. Like she looks around, like in the sense that maybe she was tasked with it. And she gets up in a hurry and moves away. And you will notice that where she was sitting on the couch, she seems to have, like, you don't know if she deliberately put it between the cushions or it fell out between the cushions, but you kind of lean forward, gently kind of reach and take, and there's a little like case, maybe like a glasses style case, and you open it up and you're pretty sure that this is the silken rope that you remember around the throat of Albertine in the alley. Not a duplicate, not an identical one, but something that ought to be like in the sheriff's evidence. Remember, it wasn't exactly the murder weapon, but it certainly was part of the killing.
Yes, yeah, there's no way this would be out and about. Yeah. I clearly steal that.
Okay.
Rose's sticky fingers, I think we've discovered throughout the series.
Now, do you take the whole case, or do you just take the rope, or do you take both?
I think I take. I think I take both, but I make sure not to touch the rope myself. Like with a napkin.
I think that's fair.
Like I wrap it in the napkin and stuff it in my pocket.
Yeah.
And then I gently put the case, like, all while I'm supposedly like fiddling with my coat and finally like warmed up and taking it off, right?
Mm-hmm. Let's swing back to Iris. Deputy Anderson has made herself scarce at this point, and you're not entirely sure you want to interact with her again.
You said whose mansion is this? Is this Carfax mansion?
It's called Corey Mansion, but it seems from what people have been saying that it is actually owned by Mrs. Carfax. It's pretty big. I mean, like, it's very easy to move from room to room and not see other people or not be seen.
That's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I've proven in the past it's not that hard to find secret passageways and like hidden panels and ways into tunnels and things between the walls. So an old mansion like this, it's got its own name. It's got to have some secrets in it somewhere.
So we're going to move upstairs. And actually, I think I have a better background I can put here. Kind of move upstairs, kind of wandering around, trying to stay out of people's way.
Yeah. Leaning on door handles and sort of looking around corners.
And it's a beautiful place. One of the things you will definitely notice is a strong motif of mermaids, merfolk, sort of half creatures. Seems to be present throughout here.
Oh, lovely.
And you kind of make your way up. You are searching by yourself. It's not particularly well lit up here. Let's have
Well, and I mean, I wouldn't want to turn on extra lights. It might give me away.
Exactly. Let's have you make that meddling move.
I think this is vitality, as she's like, you know, if there are door handles that seem locked, she's sort of leaning on them, assuming they're stuck, and she's trying to like move some things out of the way to see behind them. She's not letting simple obstacles get in her way.
Oh, absolutely not. You would never allow that to happen.
Ooh. All right, let's try these things. How you doing? That's 8, 9.
So I think that you will find your way upstairs and you hear a whispered conversation. There's more upstairs, like this is several, but you're there on that sort of second floor. Stairs go up to a third, and you know there's an attic. But you will kind of peek in and you see Melanie Blair, who you've heard them tell you was involved in that whole baking mystery, and that she had like some connection to Amanda Krause. And she's talking with that librarian woman, Chandler, who you probably have run into. You've done some stuff at the libraries. We've established that. She says, Chandler's saying, why am I here? I don't want to be here. And Blair says, downstairs, you've heard her kind of giggly and laughing and stuff like that. But Blair says very hard, says, you are here because you were told to come here. And if you don't want everything that you've done to come out, then you will stay here and do what must be done. no matter what you're asked to do.
Is that the baker talking to the librarian?
That's the baker talking to the librarian. The baker says, imagine if everyone knew what you'd done.
I think I'm gonna mark a crown of the queen
Ooh,
to avoid complications and sort of fade away from that silently.
that seems fine. You fall back away. Let's come back to Bobby. You got a basement, have a cellar, got this kitchen.
Yeah, I think I'm going to investigate the basement, the cellar a little bit more. I ask Etienne to keep an eye out, maybe make himself busy in the kitchen,
All right, all right.
and to make a whistling noise or something if danger is coming.
You'll head down the steps, and it's clearly, stone foundations. So the steps going down are stone, and the moment that you kind of start to go down them, it gets cold. And you hit that switch, and you get that like dim light that says to you that these are a series of rooms or halls that are illuminated with bare 40-watt bulbs, old style bulbs. The kind that, if you tried to turn them, they'd probably crack out of the handle.
Yep. Thanks.
And you'll walk down. Everything's painted a kind of, it's a off-white down here, kind of maybe a little bit of a greenish tinge to it. And it looks to you like there are several rooms down here. There's clearly like a storage room. There's clearly a like wine cellar. I think at one point you'll find in one of these rooms, there's a half door. Like it's a door in the wall, but it's only 3 feet high.
That's so New England. Yep.
Yeah. Kind of open it up and look, and there's a little room like with the kind of almost sort of like bare soil kind of thing. It gets that wet smell to it. And like there's a concrete block that's like the size of a twin bed in there. Maybe this is where you'd store apples or something. But
Dead bodies.
yeah. And you'll move along. Let's have you roll meddling as you search the basement by yourself.
I'm going to switch to roll with me.
Please do.
Oh, and I am also, I liked where Patrick was going with the vitality. Because of my haunted by the void condition, am I taking -2 on everything?
Disadvantage for things where it would apply.
I see.
And I think going down into a dark basement by yourself, where it was whispering songs of sea shanties.
Shanties. Not a TikTok to be found anywhere.
Yeah. Suggest that the haunted by the void might be applicable here.
All right. All right. Well, then I'm gonna play the game and roll with composure.
Yes.
Because I'm just trying to keep my head together. So I'm rolling 3d6 and taking the worst 2. That's 2 3s. So that's 6 plus 2 is 8.
8. So you definitely get the sense that something is down here. Moving through here, but you never quite catch sight of it. But you do find that you've kind of made your way in. This cellar goes on for a ways, like bigger than you thought it should have, and you've lost your way, but you get back to this door, and it looks old, and you open it up, look in, and you can see that it's another one of these little rooms, but there's a little carpet there, like a little throw rug, and you move your foot over, pull on one end of it. When you pull a little throw rug over kind of a dirty, stony thing, you get that weird sort of textural sound. You pull that, and there is a trap door that goes down, and the wind from the caverns below blows through it, and that's when the lights go out. We'll come back to you in a moment. Rosemary.
I'm like,
I am going to go speak to Dr. Catherine Burko.
We've met before.
Why, yes, at the museum,
Yes.
that awful business with the grad student.
Yes, that was a tragedy. Too tragic story.
I thought you were leaving Brindlewood Bay after that.
I thought
Fair.
I was too, but certain beneficiaries came through, and I had the opportunity to take over at the museum, and
Quite awful what happened to Mr. Absalom. That car accident.
She picks up the whiskey, the double that she's been drinking, and takes a good stiff drink of it. Tragedy.
I guess that must have left Miss Krause as one of the major. I remember, I thought you and her had your differences, but here you are.
Things change. Situations change.
And what's all this about? Like, it's quite the gathering here. So many familiar faces. What's it all in aid of?
Now let's have that meddling move.
Mm-hmm. Do-do-do. I should have said before, it's going to be, without looking at my thing, so I can't remember exactly what I've got. I think it is composure, because I am completely like, like leading her on, like letting her fill the silences and sort of like, oh, you last time we spoke, you were all, I remember the things that you said about her, and letting her fill that silence. So that means I have a 12, and you remembered my good stat best.
Excellent. I think that she starts to maybe say something, and you can feel that presence as Krause comes in the room. And she gets quiet, and then again clearly goes and stands up to leave, and kind of moves along. And as she does, your eye will be drawn over to a side table there, and there's a hat there, and you kind of follow behind, and they kind of, your presence kind of pushes Kraus and Burko out. Like as you move, they clearly move to move away from you, and so by the time you get over to that table, they've moved on. You recognize this hat. Kind of pick it up, look at it. It has the smell of the ocean to it. Has that little bit of blood on the inside of the hat there. Looks like George Miller's hat. You haven't seen George Miller here. And I think that's the point at which you hear a foghorn blow in the distance, but like up above you. And you feel the vibration of it go through and just, and you feel the house kind of reverberate, and you'll realize that, like, you see Priya and you see Landsberg there, and they don't seem to notice it. But you see Kraus and Buttons and Carfax, and when that foghorn goes off, they all kind of look up like they're hearing it.
So Kraus, Anderson, and Carfax were the others who reacted to the
Buttons and Carfax have been the ones that you saw. Kraus, Buttons, and Carfax.
Kraus, Buttons, and Carfax. Nice. But who was it who didn't? Sorry, just because it helps me think. Priya.
Landsberg and Priya.
Landsberg. Nice. Rose takes the hat and goes looking for the sheriff.
Okay. Iris, what are you up to?
So I think just to make things a little bit more complicated, I have a flashback for the Crown of the Queen.
Excellent.
And I have marked a burgeoning romance. So I think it's a flashback to a couple of weeks ago. Or no, it hasn't been that long since the last thing we did.
But let's say a week.
Yeah, a week or so ago. And Iris is showing up at the docks with her easel sort of folded up under her arm and her bag over one shoulder to go out and have a accidental morning meeting with Captain Miller again. But as she's like getting up to the docks, he sort of comes out of nowhere. She's taken aback and surprised. And he asks her that why don't we go to the diner this morning, as he like leads her away from the docks. She's a little confused, but goes with him. And as they're walking, he just gets this look on his face like, this thing I'm just remembering, and pats his pocket and says, I cut out something from the paper for you. You like that author, right? That Masterson? She's apparently, there's a book tour of hers coming through the area. Didn't know if you'd heard of it. should look at it. And he pulls out a newspaper clipping and hands it to her.
In that kind of or hesitant stop, restart kind of way. Yeah.
And it's I think the flashback comes back to Iris in the darkened hall as she's like pulling this newspaper clipping out of her pocket and looking at it like upset and confused, thinking about all the people. Like, we've heard all these suggestions of people being manipulated to be here or be other places.
So what are you doing? You have that flashback. You're upstairs still, or do you want to go further up?
I sort of want to. I have a very strong impulse to continue splitting the party as hard as possible, but I also sort of want to be there when Rosemary shows up with the captain's hat.
So actually, let's have you come back down after hearing that conversation, and you see Rosemary sort of in the front hall. Rosemary, you see Iris coming down the stairs.
Iris, this is Captain Miller's hat. Have you seen him here?
What do you mean? Where did you get that?
I think we should find Sheriff Dalrymple.
Is that blood? What did you... Where did this come from?
It was on the table in there. And there was this as well. And I show her the silk rope. Whatever else. The sheriff is too stupid to be part of all of this. We gotta make... Maybe he can help us.
Did you see him? Is he here?
I haven't seen him, but his hat's here. Let's see if Bobby's seen him. Where did you go?
Don't see Bobby anywhere around. Priya says, "Oh, you're looking for the sheriff?"
Yeah.
He went out to the car to see if the radio's better yet.
Radio. Yep, the radio. Someone could go check on him at the docks.
And out of character, do you want to go look for Bobby, or do you want to go look for the sheriff?
Sort of want to drag you off to look for the sheriff.
Because
let's do that scene.
Yes,
and
we'll
then
both go to the sheriff then. Yeah.
I think it's that we see you two kind of grab your coats and boots, because this will be a chance to talk to the sheriff out of the eyesight of anyone else.
Yeah.
And I think we'll see you kind of trudge across and walk towards the police car. And I think that you'll see one hand sort of sticking up from the snow against the side of that. And you walk over and you see Sheriff Dalrymple has walked out to the car, and then he collapsed. And just one hand is kind of up on the door handle of the door. Looks like he had a heart attack.
Sheriff? Sheriff? She's running over to do the, like, slapping him and fanning his face thing again.
There's no telltale sign of breath in this outside in the cold.
Rose, I think Anderson knew this was coming.
Just like Bobby's friend. We got to go back in there, Iris. We got to get her. We got to get Bobby, and we got to stop them before whatever this is.
Oh
No
God,
more
oh
people
God,
can
this
die,
is,
bros. Iris.
oh God, this is real. Bobby's in there with them. Bobby's in there alone with them.
And I think we cut to the darkness, and Bobby hears something move, and we take our 5-minute break. What, a cat?
We got a cat.
What's your little baby's name?
Her name is Willow.
Oh,
She came with the name Linda, and we just felt like that was not a cat name.
no,
So,
that's a pretty pedestrian name.
yeah, my dog is Maple. So
Okay.
you got a tree theme.
Yeah.
So
How are she and the other animals getting along? Not.
yeah, it's just my beagle now, and Willow likes chasing the dog, and the dog does not like being chased, but is too much of a wimp to do anything about it. So, but she's settling in so nicely. She's so good with our kids, and
Oh, good.
yeah.
I had a black and white cat like that, and we had a Dalmatian at the same time. And the Dalmatian was the dumbest, because Dalmatians are just the stupidest dogs ever. And the cat would jump up and wrap its paws around the Dalmatian's neck, and the Dalmatian would just walk around with the cat like a necklace, just so pleased that it was playing with the cat. The cat would sit in the front window on the table, and the dog would jump up and push the lamp off and sit next to it.
Yeah, I don't know that we're going to get to that level of antics, but
Yeah. I found that dogs and cats, they do eventually, they do more companionably. I have a cat that hates the other cats, and so we actually have to separate the house into two sections, which is no fun. Patrick, how does your dog react to the cats?
Well, she's a Corgi and Australian Shepherd mix, so the herding instincts are strong. So anytime they move at more than a creeping pace, she's there to try and helpfully guide them and nip at them, and they don't appreciate that even at all.
Where Cher grew up, and all the kids in the neighborhood would come to her place, and they had a German Shepherd, and they'd be playing in the yard, and the dog would circle, and eventually it would get all the kids into one part of the yard. Over time, it would just move them just to keep them together. So, Bobby, that movement is followed by something trying to whistle. What do you do?
I think I look at the scratch on my hand. So now I'm in this room.
You're in a room. It's dark. You've seen into this other room, open a big door. There is a trap door that goes down.
Oh, right, the trap door. Okay.
But there are a couple of ways out of this room back to the rest of the cellar. Problem is with the acoustics, you can't tell where this thing is.
I think the only way to go is forward.
Okay.
I wonder if I have something on my person that I can drop.
What do you have?
Maybe my gloves.
Okay.
My gloves.
And
I look at the scratch on my hand, and I'm like, damn you, Rosemary. And I kind of just keep pressing forward. And I use the flashlight on my phone.
Okay.
To look around the room.
Okay. So is your intent to try and maneuver your way back up the stairs, or are you intending to go further down?
I'm pressing in. Yeah, going further down.
Then I think I would like you to make a night move.
That's what I thought.
But you've got that phone, so let's have you use that with advantage.
Oh, okay. And I will roll. I can only use sensitivity with a occult move.
No, you can try and say that your sense of the supernatural, especially now that you've been scrimshawed,
Yeah, I feel like I'm trying to tap into that part of myself. So, uh, so I'm gonna roll 3 dice with +0. That's a 6.
That is a 6.
I will mark a crown of the void.
I think that we will see you move and you lift up that thing and it comes up and it's loud. Like when you lift it, that and then behind you, you maybe hear more things like it's moving faster, coming closer towards you, and you step and you go down these steps, and there is a moment of absolute disorientation for you, and you almost sort of fall on these sort of this round steps going down, and you realize that you've turned around. You don't know when it happened, but you were going down these steps, but you flipped around and now you're going up them. Do you want to keep going down or do you want to go back up?
I take a deep breath and I turn to keep heading down.
And I think that you will come down to a door. It's a nicer door than you would have expected going down as far as this is. And you open it up and it opens into a warm, dimly lit area. And you realize you're in the house. It's kind of like you see the decorations, like right across from this, you see this needlepoint in a kind of a round frame, and you will see that mermaid. But it's a little bit different than the mermaids that you've seen before in that there are 2 of them. And one of them seems to be biting the other one's tail. And then the other one is, and there's this kind of circle that's made from them there.
I come through, I close the door behind me,
You hear voices downstairs.
and I'm like, my gloves. And I kind of ease. I'm gonna meddling move in this room
Sure, absolutely. Let's have you make that roll.
because I'm here. What is the attribute for really irritated? I'm going to use reason.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. I rolled a 4.
You rolled a
Could use the
4.
golden crown mystery.
No one has used it.
I got another one as well. So we have 2, in fact.
Patrick, is that all right with you? All right. This reminds me, hang on. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. This reminds me of the secret of the quiet librarian. That literally just came up randomly. This was when Amanda got stuck in a library overnight. And every time she tried to go through another door, she ended up back in the stacks. And she was trying to figure out how they could make this happen. She eventually overcame this problem by I don't know, putting her hand on the wall and
Yeah.
following the wall.
Kind of follow it along. You'll come to a light switch, kind of turn that on, and into a small, you're clearly like in the half floor that is the top floor, kind of opens up into a room. There's one of those sort of witch glass windows, circular in there, a small table. It's kind of cold. It's not particularly well insulated here, but you will see there is a table and there is a chessboard. And you walk over and you see that on the one side, on the, it's not black, it's green side, the pawns are kind of hooded figures. But then you'll see like there's a piece that sort of looks like Miss Carfax. There's a piece that sort of looks like Kraus. You'll notice there's a piece that is knocked over that looks like Lara Sanchez. And you kind of turn to look at the other side and you see that there are several pieces that are knocked over on that side, but the front row of the pawns look like you and Rosemary and Iris and Violet. And you'll see that there's a pawn that's knocked over in the knight position, and it looks like Sheriff Dalrymple. And there's a rook that's knocked over, and it looks like George Miller. And you notice that the king is Etienne.
I take a picture with my phone of several pictures, like showing that these are our faces, showing the position of the pieces on the board, stuff like that. And I guess cell service is out, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right, well, I can't send that to Rosemary, but I take the king.
Okay.
I stuff that in my pocket and I step away, and then I think better of it and I come back and I pick up the three pawns that represent me and Rosemary and Iris, and I put those in my pocket as well.
Perfect. Rosemary, Iris, there's the sheriff's dead body. You've got to get back. Do we see you hustling back to the house?
Mm-hmm.
Kind of come in. Do you make a racket when you come in, or are you just trying to like find Bobby before?
We try and find Bobby, and I will only ask. I think Priya or Etienne, or like people.
Oh,
that
you don't
we've...
see Etienne around, but Priya.
Oh, I didn't think so.
Yeah. Priya's like I don't know. And I think that as you're talking, you'll probably see Bobby looking very shaken coming down the stairs.
Like fast, but not too fast.
And I squeeze Priya's hands and I say, "Stay safe, child. Be careful.
All right.
Stay close to Landsberg."
Okay. She's not really my type, but
I just squeeze, move away to Bobby,
Okay.
Bobby.
I'm gesturing. Like I feel like the stairs are in between where they are and where the kitchen entrance.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like gesturing, like, let's go to the kitchen.
I think at this point I'm like, like how Iris was comforting Rose before. Like I think that Rose is kind of like holding Iris a bit steady due to like the worry over Captain Miller, right? Like we're a bit reversed.
I like that.
Yeah. We'll follow her straight into the thing, obviously.
Get to the kitchen. Etienne must have gone somewhere. He's certainly not here.
Rosemary, Iris, Etienne must be in trouble. Look what I found.
The king, the rook, and the knight. Just like the crone, and the maid, and the mother.
Those a chess game. No. Show her what you found, Rose.
And I pull out Captain Miller's bloody hat, and I say, Dalrymple's dead outside. We have to find Etienne.
There's no doubt that he is next. I left him here in the kitchen. I told him to stay put here in the kitchen.
We have to find Miller. A bloody hat doesn't mean anything.
I think Bobby and Rose exchange pointed glances at that.
All right. I think we may be at the point at which you need to theorize to tell me what the ritual is. Where is it happening? I think you know the time. I think that's kind of set like that is accelerated. But you have, I believe, between the void clues and the regular clues, you are at 13. It's difficulty 10, so you would be rolling at a +3 at this point if you can work those things in. So why don't you take a look and tell me how these fit in, what's sort of going on. What is it that the mothers of the fragrant void are doing?
I'm just rapidly typing out the thoughts that have been running through my head without me writing them down beforehand.
And I am waiting for him to type out the thoughts.
I feel like we've gotten a lot of signs that while there are more people involved, there are definitely 3 at the center of whatever's happening here. But it's not just the 3 of them, because we have a couple other people that are pushing on other people for the cult or with the power of the cult. Because I don't know if Melanie Blair is our ultimate betentacled mastermind enemy, but she certainly seems to be playing on the side of the cult.
I would say that that Blair is part of the cult. Chandler is maybe a reluctant part of the cult, and Burko is maybe somebody who's more like a part of it, but not necessarily like a knowing member. Buttons is definitely part of it because she heard the foghorn. Landsberg and Priya are not, I don't think.
I feel like Anderson is more in the position of Melanie Blair, like she's someone who's been promised something, and so she's willing to go along with what's going on.
Well, I don't know if you remember that she killed Lara herself directly, retaking the place of the maiden within the try. So I feel as though Anderson is, whatever reason she originally had for it, is too far in at this point to be anything but, pure cult kind of thing.
Gotcha.
I have a theory. Okay.
All right.
So this is a ritual to bring back another one of whatever to summon whatever the Deep Reaver killed. It's to bring it back, to bring some more of its kind back, right? It requires the deaths of 3 significant male figures of the town, part of like representing positions of the crew of the Deep Reaver. You have Captain Miller is the obvious one. Dalrymple is, as the sheriff, is like the one who would keep discipline and order among the men. And Etienne remains as the worker.
Fishmonger.
The fishmonger, yes.
The cook. Yeah, the cook.
Yeah. So the cult has gathered its core here tonight. And those who are not full members of it are here to be witnesses, to be the members of the crew of the Deep Reaver who did not know what they brought back from those shores, unlike the captain, the fishmonger, and the what's the second in command, the first mate. Those were the three men on the Deep Reaver who brought back this thing that started all of this, and we weren't expected. Arthur showed me the way. You know, Arthur caused that crash. We complicated affairs. And the bodies of all three men will be entombed within those three coolers filled with salt water within the cellar. As part of the ritual later on, you know, after the last one is dead, they will all be brought to the basement to finish the ceremony, and it will come to the dark places below Brindlewood. Does that sound like a workable theory? I think I've tried to include pretty much everything. So but given that there's a 3 maximum anyways, I think I've at least done 3.
Anything you want to add to that, Iris or Bobby? Tell me about the tea and the silk rope.
The tea is how they killed Dalrymple with that pomegranate poison. The silk rope is I
think part of the ritual is they need to use something rope-like, on the original Reaver. So it's sort of symbolic thing. And maybe they use that to kill Miller.
The silk rope, when on the crew of the Deep Reaver way back when, one man stood out and opposed all of this, and they strangled him. And the silk rope, he spoke up in the same way that Obertine spoke up, and so the silk rope is symbolic of that murder, and therefore part of this ritual.
I think also the Baker to the Librarian, you must do what you're told, or everyone will know what you've done. It may be that Chandler had done something to try and try and get out of the cult. And so everyone is actually the cult, not everyone outside the town. And so Blair was threatening to expose her to the rest of the cult.
Interesting.
I like that.
All right. Rosemary.
No, not me.
It's got to be you.
This is your chance to make up for what went wrong before.
Oh,
No pressure or nothings.
dude.
Well, I actually have a move though that will let me at least save us, if nothing else.
What's that?
Because I touched the Elder Wing Moth's frame. I saw the Deep Reaver, and I can evoke Captain Thingy's spirit to say that I will go down with the ship, but the others will survive. So
That's right.
Okay, I'm gonna roll for your party, and I'm not gonna look until it's settled. Oh my god, yes, it is an 11.
So I think that you'll realize that like you have moved back out to kind of look outside, and you don't see Dalrymple's body out there, and you're hearing that chanting now through the house. You see Landsberg and Pritya are like looking around like what is that sound? And they kind of realize that there's nobody else around except for you three. And you realize that's coming up. The door, the cellar door is like thrown and bolted when you move over to where that is. but you can hear the chanting coming up from it. What do you want to do?
Etienne is down there.
Yeah, I think Irish just grabs some heavy piece of like hardwood furniture and takes it to ram straight at that cellar door and bust it open.
Let's have you roll.
Can I add
Yes.
one more thing to that? Is that
Sure.
you grab Captain Miller's hat out of my hand, put it on, maybe? I don't know if that's too cheesy or wrong, you know? Or you grab it and you hold it, right, as you slam it down.
Yeah, I like sort of holding it as a talisman. I don't know if she'd quite stick it on her head. But I have tabs. Cult Sievers, once per session, you can take a 12+ on any roll related to wild or daring physical feat.
What does that look like?
So I think this is like an armchair that she grabs, and she runs and rams at the door and bounces off. Luckily, there's cushion on the seat, but there's like a crack as part of the jam splits, and she takes a couple of breaths and rubs her ribs before she picks it back up, and just with a rah, like runs at the door, full body with the chair. The door flies open and the chair goes like tumbling down the stairs.
And we'll see you rush. Bobby, you've been down here. You kind of have a general sense of the layout. You're trying to think. There was a big room towards the center that everything seemed to feed onto. And the thing that will strike you as you kind of hit the bottom of these stairs is there's water on the floor here. It is the like you're splashing through it. It's that kind of cold water. Remember when you went through the caves? And you had kind of, even though it's not that high up, you get that same feeling like these cellars are caves, that echoing. It's all stone, and you can hear the chanting. And I think we'll hear the echoing, and even as you're running, like you're hearing other things moving in other rooms, splashing in the water, as you come up, and you can see through a doorway this bigger room, and it is lit by like hurricane lanterns, like shipboard lights that are hanging there. You can see bits and pieces that seem to be maybe artifacts from the Dark Reaver laid in places around. You can see there's a spot where the compass ought to go, but it isn't there. And you will see these figures in those same robes that you saw before. And you'll see there are 3 sort of shallow coffins filled with water, and you can see 2 of them have bodies face down in them. And the third one, you will see Deputy Anderson has Etienne's head up, and she's moving to put it under the water to drown him. At either end of that, at the port and stern of that coffin, you see Carfax and you see Kraus, and the others are standing around. Bobby, what do you do?
I think I go for ATM. I'd like to suggest, I assume we're rolling night moves here.
Yes.
In order to do what we need to do. So I'm going to take a page from Will's book, and I'm going to say, I see a plumber's wrench that reminds me of my own in the corner of this basement. And I grab it and I get violent. I get all Brooklyn on Anderson to have her let go of ATN.
Perfect. That definitely feels like you are rolling vitality with advantage.
And my vitality is 0.
Maybe it's not a wrench. Maybe it's like an artifact from the Deep Reaver that's similar to a wrench. You know, like
reminds me of a wrench.
Ship's tool.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna roll. Six,
Even with advantage?
even with advantage. Can I
Then-
mark? Can I mark a
Yes, you can.
crown of the queen?
What is it that you're marking?
Fondest memory with one of your children.
How does that relate to this?
I think, you know what? Let me do it differently. How I was an imperfect mother.
Okay.
I think I had a temper. And I think I yelled at them more. And I harbor this guilt of yelling at them. I never got violent, but I remember I think what flashes through my head is sort of all the memories of all the times I wanted to get violent and, you know, held back because I'm their mom, but also just that rage of that frustration that I felt in trying to raise two girls in New York City.
So
And now I
here-
let it loose.
yeah.
Sorry.
I think you will hit Anderson, pull Etienne out of there. But I think this is a cost I'm offering you. She grabs you and throws you into the water. She's not drowning you yet, but the positions have changed. But Etienne is kind of fallen out, gasping. He may probably been drugged a little bit, but he's on the ground in the water, and others are kind of startled. Like they haven't heard any of you coming down here. They didn't hear the door coming down. They've been so absorbed in this, and then suddenly you're up in the midst of them. Rosemary.
I
Can feel the hungry darkness surrounding you in all of these rooms, waiting for the ceremony to be done.
I let out a yell. And I am going to shove Anderson's head into the water.
Okay, going to try and drown her before she can drown Bobby.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it could work. I yell, and as I yell, you see that I grab the gun from Sheriff Dalrymple's body.
I'm not going to give you advantage on that. But
No,
I
I don't want it to be advantage on that.
Okay, but yeah, that's all right. Let's have you roll Vitality, Night Move. You still have the Gold Crown Mysteries move.
I do, but it feels cheesy to use it.
Well, you
It
can use
reminds
it-
me of the time that.
Well, you know,
know.
that's the thing. Just keep in mind that is a 12 plus. You can always do.
That's true.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a flat 7. But I'm going to mark the crown of the Queen and flash back to my fondest memory with one of my children. And it's the day that my daughter stopped grieving for her father.
Oh,
And I could see that she would be happy again.
I think you reach up. There's that bit where you kind of push Bobby out of Anderson's arms and shove her face down into this thing. And she's jerky. She takes in a full like gasp of that seawater, and you can feel the tentacles stretching, coming this way because you're offering the third up. Iris, there's still a bunch of people here. What are you doing?
So who all is around here? Is it all the rest of the NPCs?
It's all the rest. They're startled by this, and you see Rosemary drowning Anderson in this saltwater coffin. You look over, you see Dalrymple, back of his head. You see Miller, the back of his head, in these other two coffins.
But I do think Rosemary talked through the ritual enough beforehand. I don't think she's thinking clearly. So I think because I'd had a 12 plus on that night move before, so I think the advantage that I'm carrying forward from it is like one of those heavy wood chair legs that broke off the chair.
You've got a weapon, got a wicked nail sticking out of it.
And I think she tries to run forward and push through the crowd to use it like a baseball bat and shatter the third coffin and spill the seawater all over the floor.
Let's have you roll.
All right, I'm going to do it over here. Roll with me, just so that I know when it's done. Well, that's 6 plus 1 is 7.
So I think you will hit that coffin. And when you do, there's kind of a cracking sound from the others as the water is offered up. And you will feel these people have kind of been thrown back, and you feel almost like a tide of hunger roll in. The water seems to roil and get deep. And out of the corner of your eye, you see Marjorie Buttons is standing by one of these doorways, and then she's gone. And it's like suddenly you're in like a tide, and the water is crazed, and Rosemary is still holding Anderson's face down into this. Bobby, you have a feeling that this thing is going to eat everyone in this room.
Do we get the feeling that the ritual just depends on them being dead or in these coffins? Do they have
something that was supposed to be up with the ritual has been broken? Those coffins have been broken early. Whatever was intended for the ritual, Iris has broken that.
Okay. But the thing is still coming for us.
Oh, it's coming for everyone. It would have come for just the three.
I got you.
Who do you want to save?
I say run. I make eye contact with Rosemary and then with Iris. Are they in a place where they can run?
Rosemary, when Bobby looks over at you, what's the look on your face? I mean, because you've still got Anderson in your hands.
I was imagining that, like, as that water spills out, right, it's more water than it could possibly be within that thing, right? And now it's just like waist high, like there's currents and there's tides. And I think that, like, as I was holding on to Anderson, right, she slips out of my hands, and I'm just left. So
are you in because does Bobby see that you're in a position to run?
I see Bobby, and I am in a position to run. And then I look over the room and I see somebody else.
Yeah, we'll come back to you. Say, Iris, when Bobby looks to you, do you look like you're in a place to run? Or is your face more set on something else?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think, like, having done what she can to interfere, she's turned to start, like, grasping at Captain Miller's body to drag him out and CPR or something on him, but she's like trying to pull his body out of the coffin.
So Bobby, what do you want to do? It looks like Iris is trying to get Captain Miller's body with her. Rosemary seems like maybe she's not mean, she's free of people, but it looks like she's got something else on her mind. And of course, there's Etienne there too.
I grab Iris and Rosemary, and I start to pull on them.
Let's have you make that night move.
Oh boy. What have I got? I'm gonna roll with I'm gonna call it composure.
That seems fair. Yeah, you're trying to keep yourself together.
Oh, I rolled an 11.
So I imagine that Iris does want to go with you. So, that you, especially if you, the two of you with that strength kind of pulling Miller along. So you can kind of make your way. And I imagine that we kind of hear a coughing, and Etienne is kind of, grabbing on, using you to kind of get up to follow along. Rosemary, do you want Bobby to pull you along?
I think that Carfax is clinging on to like a thing, but she smiles and lifts her hand, and I see the wedding ring, Arthur's wedding ring, on her finger.
Oh yeah.
And Rose just looks and then smiles, and as the rest of them are moving up the stairs, right? Like Etienne slips and like is like choking and spluttering in like all the chaos, and then Rose just comes up beside him and lifts him up as it fills it with water behind them, perhaps.
And we'll see that kind of rush through the passages here as it's almost like flooding. We see Carfax there. She's like waiting, like drawing you, and there's that look of disappointment on her face as you don't come. And then a hand comes up out of the water and pulls her under. And we see the three of you go rushing up and just, and then you're in the kitchen and it's wet, and Landsberg and Pritchie are screaming like, what is going on? And you'll hear this shaking, and you can hear the under foundation of this house give as the cellar collapses down into the sea caves, and the house all kind of shakes. It doesn't collapse, but you can tell that it's like a sinkhole under this, and everything is washed away. Let's go to epilogues. Iris, what do we see of you, either in immediate aftermath or down the road?
I think this is down the road. It's early, like a few minutes before dawn. Again, as she shows up at the docks. She doesn't have her easel, but she does have a bag. And she, sort of in the silhouette of the pre-dawn, she walks down the dock and goes over to Captain Miller's boat and goes down inside of it. We have sort of a time skip to the sun's up a little bit above dawn. It's been 10 or 15 minutes. And she's climbing off of the boat back onto the dock. The bag sort of drops empty next to her on the dock. She reaches into one of the pockets of her vest and pulls out a black scrimshaw. As she winces, she pulls it across her hand. She looks to either side expectantly, doesn't see anything. And that's when we notice the flames have gotten big enough to start being noticeable inside the boat. And as they start spreading from the cabin and rising up, the the rest of the boat, there's a tear that rolls down her cheek. But there is a hand that comes down on her shoulder, ghostly and a little translucent. And she puts up a hand to it and sort of leans her head down on it as she and the figure of the captain watch the boat burn.
Nice. Bobby, what is your epilogue?
I think we see the camera on Bobby's face. She's walking, but as we pull back, we realize she's not in Brindlewood Bay anymore, and that she's moved back to Brooklyn. And she just looks happier. She just looks lighter. She's waving to people on the street, things like that. And she turns into a storefront, and it's a fishmonger's store. And Etienne is working behind the counter. He's left Brindlewood Bay as well, and they own this little fish store together. And she comes behind the counter. The camera kind of pulls in as he takes her hand, and they both kind of look down, sort of in a very affectionate way, but they both look down and they see the scar on her hand. Never quite healed properly.
Mm-hmm.
It's still kind of crackly. And they both look at it. And then you see Etienne's other hand kind of come up and just sort of cover it up. And that's it for Bobby's story.
Nice. And Rosemary?
I think Rosemary sends off a manuscript to Robin Masterson,
Nice.
titled "The Murder Mavens of Brindlewood Bay," an Arthur Strand mystery. And she packages that off. And you can see now that there are pictures of her daughter's family everywhere rather than the pictures of Arthur all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And she's sat in Arthur's room, and the manuscript was all of the notes, all of the story, everything, the true story of it all. But no one would believe that, so it's going to be a Gold Crown mystery, written from the notes of Arthur Strand, true crime novelist. And Rosemary just watches the bay through the window as she sits in front of Arthur's old typewriter. And then the last noise you hear as the camera pans out is just the the new line, like ding.
Nice. And that is it for Brindlewood Bay. Do you mind doing a quick stars, wishes, end thoughts here? So I enjoyed that. Thank you all very much. I'll just start with, I was pleasantly pleased and surprised at how quickly we went right back into the mode, right back in, right back with these characters. That was a pleasure. So that's sort of my overall star. Was it felt like we were just getting right back on the bicycle there. Patrick, stars, wishes, thoughts?
That was amazing. That was so much fun. It was I think a good cast of NPCs to pick to bring in here. Sort of representative of different touchstones along the way. And the snowed in at the mansion and the overnight ritual thing. That was just wonderful. That was a great way to set it up. I've thoroughly enjoyed playing in this world that y'all got going, and I absolutely love both Bobby and Rosemary.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I really like the sort of everything did come to a nice conclusion here, but there's that lingering thing of the wounds that all three of them have from the scrimshaw, and this idea of it's probably not over. Like, there's definitely, if they wanted to do a sequel movie or another season, there's totally that thing to draw it all back into
Return to Brindlewood Bay.
Yeah. No, this was amazing. This is so good.
Awesome. Dan?
Yeah, it was great. I agree with you, Lowell. Just dropping right back in to these characters was fantastic. It really speaks, I think, to the group, but also just to the game and how nicely it creates these hooks for us. I really enjoyed kind of surprisingly rolling a lot of night moves as we were sort of dealing with all of this tension. And I felt like we really leaned on the different mechanisms to get us to buff those rolls a bit, which again sort of adds a lot of flavor to it. My favorite parts of any game, I like Bobby kind of going around sniffing around the basement, but my favorite parts of any game are when we interact with each other, and that powder room scene, I just feel like that's going to go down as one of my favorite moments of in a game in 2021. So thanks everybody for doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And Will?
I mean, thank you so much for getting it reorganized, guys. On so many levels I wanted to do this because it's A, the Void Mystery, B, just the game and everything. Like, it was perfect. Thank you so much. I thought the Void Mystery was great. Like, I couldn't, it was right up until the last hour where then I was like, actually, I know how we can do this now. I wasn't sure, are we supposed to theorize or are we supposed to find our way and like more conventionally RPG, like find and interfere kind of thing, just roll the night move endlessly rather than, you know what I mean? But like, it all really came together. Thank you to everyone for letting me like dump stuff as well, like scratching with a scrimshaw, Dan. And also playing along with the whole like not knowing and me keeping these secrets as we went on. And then like I liked the way of the framing in that like we hadn't actually gone over that ground yet, but this was the night and it was like, you have to see, I have to make you see kind of thing. I agree. I loved all the scenes in between. I think it was great how we managed to keep the scenes in between still moving along things as well. Are we doing wishes as well at the same point? Or...
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. My last start. The endings were so good, so good. Iris's ending, Bobby's ending was so good. I fully expected Rose to not make it through this whole thing, but we rolled very high, and I suppose that's like my wish. It's not really a wish because I don't wish. I'm happy that we rolled this way. I'm just saying that like it would have been interesting to have had to make use of all of our resources in this part, right? Like the Gold Crown mysteries, all of the things like for the last burn, like especially that I imagine that I'll go down with the ship as being like, I have to solve this, right? But it can't take any more lives kind of thing. Right. Yeah, I don't have any other wishes other than that I wish that I could recreate this when I ran Brindlewood Bay. But I've got this ambitious idea of trying to get to a Void Mystery within 5 sessions. I think I'm going to start off with like tea time, maybe. And because that feels like one that can spread like quite deep, journalist and then deep conspiracies and the caverns underneath and things. Because they get to 3 void clues within this first session, they're already up to like the second. Yeah. But I've loved the whole thing, and I'm so glad we got back into it. And thank you so much, guys. It was wonderful.
It was, for me, it was a pleasure to bring all the NPCs back and see so many of them back on stage. So thank you all very much. Anything anybody else wants to say?
No, this is great.
Is everybody okay with me posting this?
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you all again, Will. A big thanks for pushing us to get this, and it was great to see it wrap. And as always, it's a pleasure to play with all of you. So we'll talk with you later.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.